Take two. Let's see if I can't do this a little better and a little faster this time. So, Tracy McElfresh, Dayton, Ohio. I'm in my Kettering Rosewood Art Center studio, teaching a class tonight, and I'm doing alterations today, so it's going to be quite the fun day. Today, I have some fit tips to share with you about shoulders. So I get quite a few of these, and I have, I don't know, maybe 15 years, the first one, and the very first ones were really intimidating. So what happens as we age is our shoulders may start to slope. We may need a wider circumference for our bust, but then the shoulders will be hanging down here. So we need the shoulders brought up. And we can't just flip it in and sew around it, or you will lose the sleeve cap and it may shorten your sleeves too much. So I have a few good tips for you. You ready? If you've never done a sleeve, number one, if you've never set in a sleeve from scratch, you may want to practice that first before you go taking apart your favorite garment, or go to the thrift store and get some and practice on those before you cut into your real thing. I've probably done over 100 of these in the past years. It was brought to my attention the other day that the client I had went to somebody else, and that person told them that nobody would do this and it's not a thing. People do take sleeves off and you're able to move them up to a new place. That is a thing. So the first thing I did, tip number two, so number one was to practice sliding sleeves in before you cut into your good things. Tip number two is you need to have the person try it on, fold it up to where it needs to be. A lot of times it's personal preference if someone wants it higher up or lower. I like mine to go right on the ridge of my shoulder, and then I pinned that, and then I took a friction marker in case the pen fell out, and I just made the tiniest little mark of where the sleeve cap needed to hit the new area. The second thing I did, because I didn't want to get confused and put the sleeves on backwards or in the wrong places or twist it, all of those things can happen. So tip number three is to go around with your friction marker, and this has a back yoke. So I went ahead and took my friction marker and I marked on the sleeve 2 marks, just like it's a pattern, for the back of the sleeve, 1 mark for the front of the sleeve. So when I went to go put the sleeve back in, I knew in the vicinity where it was to go. So before I cut, I marked where the sleeve was to go. Then I went around and I just carefully cut right up against the sleeve all the way around and set the sleeve aside. The next thing I needed to do was to get the 2 inches out of here, but then I have seam allowance. So tip number 4 is that you have to remember that you're gonna need seam allowance. I like a 1/2 inch, it makes the math a lot easier, a lot of people do. So if I needed 2 inches, I made a mark at 1.5 inches, and then I laid it out flat and I cut only that curve up to the 1.5 inches. Now we have 2 different circumferences, so they're not going to fit inside of each other anymore. We've got a larger hole where I brought the sleeve up, so somewhere it has to become smaller. So that's where I just went in and I needed 2 inches up here, so I serged 2 inches just right underneath the arm, because the armhole is still gonna be just as big. So I serged that off, and then I went to my serger and I serged these 2 pieces separately. The sleeve got serged all by itself, and when I get to the cap on the serger, I bump up the differential feed. Now if you don't have a serger, you can still do this, but you should probably use a gathering stitch, because you're going to want to bring that sleeve in for a sleeve cap just the slightest bit. They're flat sleeves. They're not actually gathered, but it eases it in to become a curve. So for me, I did it on my serger with the differential feed, and then I serged the hole separately. Then I came over and I pinned it all up. My notches were not exact because I had cut some off, but they were pretty close, and I checked everything before I sewed it. And I just came over to the regular sewing machine and I sewed around the circumference, and the smart way to do it is the part that you want eased to have that up against your feed dogs. So when I put this on the machine, the actual sleeve with the cap was up against the sleeve feed dogs, and those feed dogs slowly ease it in so that we've got a nice, flat, sharp, clean sleeve. And I prefer to do mine one at a time so I don't get the sleeves mixed up, but you can do that however you want. So I hope that you like these fit tips and that they help. Practice makes it a lot better. In my very first one, a lady brought all of her shirts to Sew Dayton, my first brick and mortar shop that I co-owned, and I sat on her shirts for over a month, and then I went on vacation, and I said, on vacation, I'm gonna take all of my tailoring books and I'm gonna figure out how to do this. And that's exactly what I did. I flipped through all the tailoring books until I found this fit issue and how to fix it. So hopefully this will be great. I just did 4 of her shirts. It did take a while. You'll want to charge for that. Taking off an entire sleeve and putting it on is almost custom work, so you think about that. All right, that's it. Tracy McGilchrist. Tracy Sews, Dayton, Ohio. I teach here at Rosewood Art Center, sewing basics, group classes. I don't do private lessons. I don't have time to do everything. Tonight we have a pattern reading and layout class where I demonstrate how to cut out some pajama pants, which is a great first project. And I facilitate a large meetup group, the Dayton Garment Designer Meetup. We meet up quarterly. We're meeting here at Rosewood December 7th. Rosewood's putting on a big holiday show and everybody from the group's coming. The group is on Facebook, so the Dayton Garment Designer Meetup Group is the formal name, and you should be able to find it through my page. If not, just ask. Tracy McGilchrist, Tracy Sews. Thank you for watching. I'm sorry this went way over. Tips in and around a minute. Bye.